Well, hello, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. I've needed somebody to talk to. It gets kind of lonely in the house, doesn't it? So, my name is Sarah. This is Pearls of Wisdom and Food with the Carnivore Lifestyle. But if you're doing keto or low carb, high fat or carnivish or just trying to see what this is all about, welcome. We do silly things here, we do serious things here. It's mostly chit chat and seeing that there's not too much going on in my world socially or health wise. We just meet and chit chat and have a cuppa and enjoy the start to the day. Because I'm kind of one of those that does a video about a cuppa's length, right? And just regular old chit chat. Welcome the new day. What am I going to do? How are our plans going? And how does she do that carnivore way of eating at her age? Like a lot of other people, I guess. It just kind of works. And so I'm very happy that it does, because if I was doing standard American diet foods during this stay-at-home deal, I would be, well, I wouldn't fit on the screen anymore. I would be a mess. I would be in my head. Ms. Slick would be not just on one shoulder, she would be on both shoulders, coming up with the next awful, carby, sugary thing that she would want me to eat. There would be no control. And I don't know how any of you did your life up until now, but control was something that I didn't have. And on those times that I did have control, either with drinking or I need a cleaning lady. Drinking or food, there was just nobody saying, maybe, have you ever thought of, don't you think it's time you... Never had any of that. I was just like a bull in that proverbial china shop with food and drinking. I did what I wanted. I had what I wanted. I drank what I wanted. I ate what I wanted frequently, and nobody could stop me. I was, I guess I kind of ate a lot like I do now, like, just like there's nobody really seeing me eat. I was just a big, hearty eater. I worked in restaurants. In fact, I had a restaurant dream last night that I went back to work in a restaurant and they served prime rib. And even though I stopped waitressing about 25 years ago, I still have waitressing dreams where you drop the tray of food, goes everywhere. You've got a snarly guy in the kitchen. You have to go back and tell him, or like you have to bring something back into the kitchen. And, they just had such little regard. I worked in one seafood restaurant down here on the Cape, and it was not a pleasant time at all. And they were really awful to their staff, awful. Well, every single man that worked in the back, and only men worked in the back, like the kitchen part, the prepping and cooking and stuff, they all had missing teeth, and they all had restraining orders against them. Forget culinary expertise. They were all the bad boys of the Cape. And it would be just totally a regular thing to have the cops deliver restraining orders to the back door during a shift. That was awful. But anyway, in this dream, and it's based around now with the virus, I had to go back to work. And restaurants were somehow open, and this was a prime rib restaurant. And so I went back to work there, and they served platters of prime rib. And it must be because I got one yesterday. I had a butcher at a regular store cut me one. It said on sale, and he said, "We don't have any." And I said, "Oh, it's in the flyer, is on sale." So he made me one, cut the ribs off, and then tied them back on. So when I roast it, I love the bone. So huge portions of beef, which, of course, if you're like me, it's like, yeah, bring it. And I couldn't decide if I wanted medium rare or an end cut. Sometimes I like end cuts because they're just so fatty and juicy, and the au jus on them. I mean, like, yeah. Hmm. But so part of the dream, I was a diner, and part of the dream, I was a server. So in the part that I was a server, there was this big, mucky muck at this table, and he had a couple of bites of his. He was one of those that didn't care about food. Have you ever run into them? They are weird creatures, aren't they? You don't care about food? Wow. So he had a couple of bites of it. He was probably he was like a pinky ring, cuff shirt, cuff links, cigarette, stem drinks like martinis or Manhattans. So he's more interested in like the conversation going on, probably wheeling and dealing and bad boy stuff. And he had like two bites of his rib. He never even got past the dunner part to get to the rib. This is a very vivid dream. And I had my messy burger last night. So sometimes it's funny that certain foods can give you certain dreams. So anyway, he said, I'll just take it to go. So I went, and this is like one of the nightmares of being a server, because we had prime rib nights at the place that I worked at for like 10 years. We had 2 nights of prime rib, Mondays and Thursdays. And so it was the nightmare come true again, where you dump somebody's plate into the trash and then, put it either in the hot soapy water to soak before it went in the dishwasher or whatever. But it was a frequent thing to throw out, all the stuff on a plate that somebody didn't want. And there it was sitting there in the garbage, like 1.5 pounds of prime rib. And he said he wanted it to go. But by the time I realized that I did that, there were many more scraps and, throwaway stuff in the trash. It was a nightmare. And so I don't know how it ended up, because you know how you remember the fragments. But it was just funny dealing with me with prime rib, because I love it, and I bought that piece to have next week in my going about the town with my mask and my gloves, on the down low, DL. So anyway, so here we are. So I'm a talk radio person, as many of you know, and it's like round the clock, because I've always had overnight jobs or early morning, wake ups when I'm not working, like now. And so I put on talk radio, and I was listening to Coast to Coast, and the host was interviewing a doctor, and he was talking about the virus and what to do and what's coming and what was behind us, and history repeating itself, and what we've got going and what we've learned from then to here to the present, and how that will affect all of us. And he was fascinating, and I always like older scientists' opinions on things, because they've learned, because they've gone through a lot of it. And so they said, we'll be back in a minute with more from Dr. John McDougall. And I went, that John McDougall? So he comes back on. So the next segment is about what to eat and how to get through this and what's going to be the best for us. And if you don't know who he is, that's probably because you're carnivore or keto person. And he is the potato doctor. He is the starch doctor. He feels that we can lose weight, get healthy, stay healthy, etc., with a high starch potato diet. So I'm like laughing, because it's like, it was a gotcha, Sarah. So I liked his first part, where he gave history of pandemics and things like that. But then the second section, oh my God, eating potatoes and you'll lose weight and you'll be healthy and you'll blah. And it's like, oh man, he got me. So anyway, that's just my fun. That's my social life, right? It's my talk radio thing. So I'm listening to tons and tons of podcasts, and I do happen to snicker a little at how all the carnivore people or keto people are overnight experts in the virus. They're not scientists, they're not doctors, they're not anything in the medical field, but suddenly they know everything about everything, and now their podcasts are about that. So take all of what they have to say with a grain of salt, because none of us know everything. And none of us have, I'm not listening to people that suddenly became carnivore and now they're suddenly experts on what we're supposed to do. I do go to the experts, and they're as perplexed by it all as the next person. And these are all professional people, spent years in the field, either doing or experimenting, being scientists, being on the front lines. And they also, don't know. So just be real careful about the advice that you take and where you take it from. So that's why my mission is just to keep this a nice little cuppa of little funny stories and gotcha Sarah stories, stuff like that. So, or bad dreams, but the bad part wasn't the prime rib. And there's Dr. John McDougall, and there were no potatoes in my dreams, just prime rib. So, must have been a carnivore crowd. So, that's it. That's all I got today. I will see you the next time here. We talk carnivore, we talk keto, we talk carnivish, we talk about our feelings, our experiences, our struggles. If you're older and seasoned like I am, you've got a lot to share, so I always love seeing it below. People learn a lot from reading your comments as well. So we're all N equals 1, which means that we learn as we go about ourselves personally. What works for somebody else might not work for you. So just, be careful. Take what you want, leave the rest, keep that salt good and Redmond's, and we'll all get through this and learn as we go. I'm just glad I'm sticking to carnivore. There's no standard American diet treats going on at this house on Cape Cod. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye for now.